Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Joanne Smedley, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Lieutenant Colonel Paul Vercoe. We warmly welcome the family of the Potter brothers, Private Hurtle Francis Constable Potter, Private Thomas James Albert Potter, and Private Edward Wilfred Potter, whose stories will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family and visitors. If you are able, please stand and join in the singing of the national anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops at Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we will read the story behind 3 of those on the Roll of Honour, which list the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Thomas James Albert Potter, Private Edward Wilfred Potter, and Private Hurtle Francis Potter of the 52nd Battalion. 4 sons of Benjamin and Eliza Potter's large family served in the First World War. Thomas, known as Biz, was born on the 6th of July, 1885. Edward, who went by his middle name Wilf, was born on the 7th of March, 1891. Ralph was born on the 10th of June, 1892, and Hurtle was born on the 15th of June, 1894. They were born and raised in Yongla, South Australia, where their father was a local building contractor. All 4 of them were educated at the local state school and became well known in the northern districts of South Australia as keen sportsmen. Wilf was once awarded a medal for being the most unselfish player in the Tarauri football team, and all of the brothers were known for their upright and straightforward characters, which made them popular on and off the field. Each of the brothers went on to work in areas relating to the building and contracting trade. Thomas worked in a woodyard, Ralph became a carpenter, and Wilf and Hurtle became stonemasons. The 4 Potter brothers enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force together in August 1915, signing the papers one after the other and being issued consecutive enlistment numbers. Originally posted to reinforcements to the 12th Battalion in December of 1915, they were first sent to Egypt, where the AIF was undergoing a period of reorganisation following on from the evacuation from Gallipoli. As part of this process, the 4 brothers were transferred to the 52nd Battalion and arrived in France to fight on the Western Front in mid-June 1916. In August 1916, the 52nd Battalion was close behind the front lines near the French village of Pozières. Members of the battalion served in carrying parties taking rations and supplies to the front line under extremely heavy artillery fire. It was not until early September that the battalion would conduct its first major operation on the Western Front during an attack on a fortified German position at Mouquet Farm. The 52nd Battalion launched their attack on Mouquet Farm at 5:14 a.m. on the 3rd of September 1916. It was later reported that the assault was delivered with much spirit and dash, with each company seizing its objective. The battalion's success, however, quickly deteriorated as the men came under heavy fire and they suffered heavy casualties, particularly among the officers. By 8 a.m, it was reported that at least half of the 52nd Battalion had ceased to exist as a tactical unit. Messages could not get through, and although the remnants of the battalion strove valiantly to hold on, eventually they were forced back to their original positions. 3 of the Potter brothers did not return that day. Wilf was reported to have been killed in action, shot through the head while standing on top of a trench, and was left where he fell. Thomas and Hurtle, however, were reported missing, and it would take some time to formally determine their fate. Even Ralph Potter, the only survivor of the 4, could not be sure what happened to all his brothers in the confusion of the battle. He had continued to search for them, even walking back over the battlefield in March 1917, looking for clues. He later reported that he had found a decomposing body in the open there, which he thought might have been Wilf because of letters and a gas mask he found with the body. Because there were burial detachments working at that time in the area, he could do little but expect that they would get to his brother. Ralph went on to serve with distinction, earning a promotion after the disastrous battle at Mouquet Farm. In April 1917, he was severely wounded in the leg at Bullecourt and evacuated back to England. It was only while he was in hospital that investigators seeking information on the fate of his brothers Thomas and Hurtle were able to catch up with him to see what he knew. There was little he could add, however. Thomas and Hurtle Potter were later determined to have been killed in action on the battlefield at Mouquet Farm on the 4th of September 1916. To this day, Thomas and Wilf have no known grave, and Hurtle's was the only body found. He was later interred at the Courcelette British Cemetery, where he lies today under the simple epitaph, "Greater love hath no man." Hurtle died aged 22, his brother Thomas was 31, and Wilf was 25. The names of Thomas, Wilfred and Hurtle Potter are listed on the roll of honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. A photograph of the four Potter brothers is displayed today beside the Pool of Reflection. Identified from left to right in this portrait are Hurtle, Thomas, Ralph and Edward. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Privates Thomas James Albert Potter, Edward Wilfred Potter, and Hurtle Francis Constable Potter, who gave their lives for us, for our freedom, and for the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them. Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening.